Good evening. I'd like to call the meeting to order. This is the January 8th, 2014 meeting of the Lowell Conservation Commission. We have one item on the agenda for tonight. Notice of intent, Kazanjian Enterprises, concerning DEP file number 2060719. Project location is 150 Wood Street. It's discussion and approval of a revised plan submitted as required for the issuance of an order of conditions. The project proposes to raise or relocate the existing residential building and the construction of two commercial buildings, retaining wall, pavement, draining system, associated grading, landscaping, and utilities, of which a portion is within the wetland buffer bordering vegetated wetland. We have a housekeeping item. This commission voted prior to issue an order of conditions. The order never issued due to a special condition that the proponent provide a plan in accordance with the public meetings that were held prior thereto. However, since that time, there's been discussions and negotiations between the city and the proponent to preserve the Bowers home, and as such, the site was somewhat reconfigured and reworked, and we have a plan before us that is substantially different than what was discussed and prior approved. So what I would like to do is entertain a motion, it's a twofold, to rescind the prior order, or rescind the prior vote, and then to reopen the public hearing. So,
I move to rescind the prior vote and reopen the public hearing on this project.
all right. Any discussion on that? All in favor signify by saying aye, and that's to both.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. All right, now, we've reopened the public hearing. Maureen, if you could kindly identify yourself for the record.
Sure. Good evening. My name's Maureen Hanley with Norse Environmental Services, here on behalf of the applicant. Also here with me tonight is Mr. Kazanjian, who's the applicant for this project. So I haven't been at the previous meetings, but I was caught up to speed, and the plans in front of you reflect the following changes. The retaining wall was moved outside of the 50-foot. I believe that was one of the concerns of the commission. We shifted that outside the 50-foot. The riprap that is shown on the slope, the previous plans showed it further up gradient. The commission had suggested that we shift it further down gradient towards the wetland, and that's been done and shown on the plan as well. The proposed professional office building on the plan has been shifted, and it's outside of the 100-foot buffer zone now. That's highlighted in yellow on your plan. And in addition to that, what we'd like to do is we're going to keep the existing house. I think if the commission remembers, we had showed it relocated down gradient on the property. There was potential floodplain issues. So we are going to keep the existing house. However, what we are proposing to remove the porch and the steps. And the reason for that is the site distance. When vehicles leave the site and take a right onto Wood Street, it doesn't meet the required site distance. So we would like to remove the porch and the steps as well.
Can you speak to the reconfigured and widening and changes to Wood Street, and how they may impact sheet flow along the street and collection and catch basins?
So it's my understanding that the city wanted to widen Wood Street. Is that correct? Mr. Kazanjian can kind of talk about the street widening.
Good evening, Alan Kazanjian, Kazanjian Enterprise. Working with the city engineers, we're going to deed land over to the city, and the city is going to actually do the work in the street to widen the roadway on both sides of Wood Street, on our side and the opposite side.
Do you know if that's going to be a part of a separate filing, or is that work going to be done in accordance with this filing?
The transfer of the property?
The work proposed on both sides of Wood Street?
I believe that will be part of this filing,
Okay, because we,
if the applicant is doing it, because otherwise, if it's city's responsibility, then city will be applying separately for that.
So for simplicity's sake, we could make it a part of this filing if the commission is agreeable to that.
yeah, okay, I'm confused now, because I just heard that the city's doing the work, and the city's saying that the applicant's doing the work, so who's doing the work here?
Well, according to the engineers, the city was going to do the work when I talked to the city engineers.
Of the street, but the curb is going
The
to be-
roadway, yes.
Yeah,
Right.
the roadway will definitely be the city's
Okay,
work.
yeah, well, that's my question. Is that going to be part of a separate filing, or is that part of this filing? Because we don't have a lot of detail, other than just the...
No, city road improvement will be a separate
A separate
project
filing.
from the city engineer.
Okay. How, the work that's done with, so there's some deeded parcels over. When, I mean, are you going to be up and running before the city does their work to the street? I'm a little...
I believe it's going to be done at the same time that we're
Okay,
going
it'll
to
all be contemporary, so there'll be
Correct,
another
right.
filing at some point in the very near future? Okay, so, all right.
be. We were at the council meeting last night to go into purchase and sale for a piece of property that they deeding over to us, and we're going to be deeding over to them, so. And it was approved from the council last night.
Now, when you say the porch and the steps, that's like the handicap access ramp that's out there in front of the house?
That and the porch, as you can see on the plan, I think it's marked out in the porch area, out in the very front of the building.
Yeah, okay.
It was added on to the house. It really has
Yeah,
no
no,
no bearing at all in the house whatsoever.
well, unfortunately, there's not a lot on the exterior of that house that's original, so.
Correct.
All right, I don't have any further questions, Commissioner Varnum.
I was looking at a very blurry, small plan on my computer when I made these notes, so. This covers a variety of topics, but I believe all of my concerns are within the 100-foot buffer area or very close by. I was at the planning board the other night, and I know Jane Calvin spoke about the trees, and that's one of my first concerns. The proposed landscape plan has red and Armstrong maples, and Armstrong are actually a type of red maple. There are at least 5 giant, probably 100, 200-year-old sugar maples on the property, and I believe that really kind of defines the look of that place. And sugar maples have such a much higher value than a red maple that I would prefer to see sugar maples in the place where you have proposed red maples. Now, I'm just in the 100-foot buffer here. I know I don't have any say on the rest of the site.
Okay.
But the placement of these maples, first of all, I think we pretty much resigned ourselves that those 3 red maples along the new retaining wall were in the way, and the wall couldn't be built without taking them down. Was that correct?
That's correct.
I'm not sure, this has gone on so long, I'm not sure if we talked about leaving the stumps, but it's a big concern with that slope in the back so steep. If the stumps could be left there, then the roots would at least hold that slope until something else.
Absolutely. If they're not in the way of the construction of the wall, we'd definitely leave them there.
Yeah, and it's possible they might sprout. The landscaping plan, I know I'm jumping around here because I'm going by my notes that I made this afternoon, but the landscaping plan has a maple tree next to the dumpster in that area. There's a little island there. It has two in front of the house, the existing house. It has one in the L of the house between the barn and the house. And three of those, the two in front of the house and the one right near the house in the L, I believe are really inappropriately sited. Even a red maple is going to be a huge tree. And basically that there isn't room there, in my opinion, for those trees. I'd rather see like flowering shrubs or something in those locations.
That's not a problem.
We can remove them.
Yeah, so that's those three. The one on the island, my idea would be to plant a row of sugar maples. First of all, at least 3 to replace the 3 that are coming down, and then maybe move that one from the island into the row too, and have them on the lower side of the wall.
You want it on the wetland side of the wall?
On the wetland side of the wall, it just seems very crowded to have a 50, 60-foot tree planted, in that little island. And in a few years, you have dumpsters there. In 10 years, that tree's going to be too big for the dumpster guy to get by it, and somebody's going to cut it down.
No, I think that's a good idea. We can plant some trees on the wetland side of the wall, because we'll have to put the riprap in and clear part of that area, so.
Yeah, there's very little, except for those large maples, there's very little growing on that back slope. And that's another issue that I think needs to be discussed. You're not going to have leaf litter to the extent that you have now for a number of years if those maples come down. And there's really very little herbaceous layer there when I walked in through there, probably because the maple trees were shading everything for so long. So I think that's something needs to be addressed on the landscaping plan, is what's going to hold that slope if the roots to the old maples rot away, and we expect the new maples would take hold. But it's a big question mark if you got a big storm, whether that slope would hold.
Right, and we're gonna try and minimize the amount of disturbance as much as possible to put that drainage structure in. We can certainly apply erosion control seed mix to the slope. We could do a wildflower seed mix to the slope. That's not a problem.
Okay. Now, on your one of your prior plans, when you were moving the house down the street, you have snow storage written right where the barns are. And on this new plan, I don't see any snow storage area. And my fear would be that they would plow directly in, and then if you had some kind of a machine with a bucket, that it would go over the wall and damage not only the landscaping, but, dump a lot of salt and that sort of thing back there. So I'd like to know where the snow storage area is now going to be.
It's not marked, but looking at the dumpster area, maybe to the left of the dumpster, there's some snow storage, and we can do removal of the snow if we have to also.
Yeah. I'd also like to see some signage. We've done this on other sites. No snow dumping over the wall.
Oh, yeah,
Just some
yeah.
small signs
Well, we plan on putting a
every
fence.
10 or 20
We plan on
feet.
putting a fence there over that wall, on top of that wall.
Okay. I was looking at the angle, now you're the guy with the big trucks. Those dumpsters, to me, look like it's an angle that would be difficult to get a truck backed in there to empty them. Is that a concern of yours?
No,
No?
no, I think it'll be fine.
Okay. I'm wondering about the retaining wall at the street, and as Swathi pointed out, or the chairman pointed out, we don't have any detail on that, but you said you're removing the steps. Are you referring to the stone steps that go down to the street?
I believe so, yes.
Because, excuse me,
But we would
there's
have to,
also a stone wall there.
we would have to put a retaining wall there in the front also,
Now,
to replace the wall that's there.
is there any way you could just move that wall back a little?
We will try our best.
Use the stones that are there,
Right,
because, there's a lot of people putting a lot of effort into
right.
restoring this house, and certainly a wall of cement blocks or
We
something.
can utilize the wall, we'll definitely give it our best shot.
Thank you. Oh, and the other thing was if you didn't have trees in front of the house, this is my idea of non-conservation, but I'm thinking like picket fence, rail fence, using your stone posts that you have. You have a couple in front of the house, and you have some all along Wood Street, where if the street's widened, they're going to have to take those out. Those would be a wonderful addition to the
We'll plan
period
it. We'll-
look of
we'll
that
s- we-
house, to
we can
put
save
those,
them, sure.
put those posts up sort of in the front of the house. Also protect people from doing things in there. Oh, and the last note I have here is you have 2 to 3 inch caliper trees proposed. I'd like to see the 3 inch rather than the 2 inch, where this is going to be a very active area with snow plows and traffic and things like that.
Okay.
That's all I have at the moment. Thank you.
Commissioner Lynch? No question. Commissioner Lovely?
Just a clarification, looking at the old plan to the new, the reason you're able to kind of readjust your site plan, if I'm looking at it correctly, is with this new proposed 35-foot opening near the existing house, it allowed you to kind of foot the direction of the new building,
That's correct.
okay? And then obviously gave you some space to kind of push back the retaining wall beyond the 50-foot
Right,
buffer
right.
zone.
We actually work with DPD on the new plan that you're looking at right now.
Right. And was there any change to any of the stormwater calculations at all, or?
No, that was the same.
Okay. No further questions, thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Gordon? Acer saccharum are sugar maples, okay. Rock maple, those are all common names for sugar maples. But the typical New England species is Acer saccharum. There's something I've never seen before on a plan, and perhaps Mr. Close could answer this, and I know he's not here tonight, but this is the first time I've seen a designation on a plan called the Plan North. And True North is almost 90 degrees. What is that?
Well, I just believe that everything would be shifted on the plan this way if he was following true north, but his north is straight above. So it's just how he laid out the plan on the paperwork.
All right, well, that one's not even pointing straight up either, so, I mean, it's,
Right.
I don't, yeah, I mean, can we find out and just text the office what, is that, if that's a
Sure.
new engineering thing, or?
I will let Swathi know
All right.
when I get a response.
Because I mean, I've been looking at plans like this for over 25 years, and I have never seen that before. So, All right, are there any further questions from the commission? All right. Is there anyone here who would like to offer their comments or concerns? Jane, if you could kindly identify yourself for the record.
Sure, my name is Jane Calvin. I'm with the Lowell Parks and Conservation Trust. I think, actually, could I borrow the landscaping plan? Oh, okay, thank you. My comments are really more directed towards retaining the trees on site, and some of the landscaping that's proposed. I too am not exactly happy with having all red maples on site. I noticed that there were initially 4 shade trees, and it seemed though there were 4 more added. I understand about meeting the minimum requirements and such, but I think that this is a significant site at a significant corner that's really a gateway to the city, and I think it's deserving of a little bit more of a softer aesthetic. I agree with the comments about the trees right in front of the house. I think what also might be nice is even some of the more interesting species of a crabapple, or a smaller ornamental tree. Those Acer rubrums in that location will only cause significant headaches down the road, and they don't necessarily add too much to the site. I liked the idea of moving one of the trees away from the corner of the L between the house and the barn. I'd actually shift one of those trees to the other end of the barn, one of the newly added ones. I think there's other space on this site to the left of the bank building possibly, but I would love to see some other trees on the streetscape. And I understand that might be out of the parameters of the meeting here. You guys can correct me on that, but I just want to have that heard. I'm not sure where you're thinking about having the sugar maples located. I would not put them within the parking area because sugar maples are not salt tolerant, so they will not last very long under those conditions. There are several other species that would be really interesting and could add a lot to this site, and that would be very tolerant of the more urban conditions. If you think about the way the sun falls on this site, say if you're walking up towards Drum Hill on this location, it will be a very hot intersection that'll be wide open. The city is going to great extents to add sidewalks there to make the walking environment more friendly. I think we ought to not only soften the aesthetics, but let's add some public health benefits, some shade, not create a little mini heat island out there next to the landfill. There are so many more things that can be done on this site to soften the aesthetic. At the back edge of the site, next to, I'm not sure the address, but it used to be 1095 Westford Street. There's quite a hill if you're walking out of that parking lot up over into towards the Bowers house. There's a hill you have to walk up and over to get down, and then all the way to the left of that, behind the bank building, that's all wooded with some significant trees. I would love to see the significant trees surveyed so we know what's there and see what we can possibly protect, see what falls within this back existing curb. There is that 6-foot addition that's going to be added. I don't know why there can't be trees put back there as a border between the two properties. So I understand that some of those comments are outside the purview of this particular meeting, but I just want to have those comments out there. I like the idea of leaving the stumps. I don't know where it stands in terms of adding trees in the wetlands versus on, where those kind of credits lie. If we move them behind the wetland and take them off the pavement, I wouldn't mind some clarification on that. There were two great ideas that I thought were proposed tonight, is to keep the stones from the original stone wall on the street edge there. I don't know who that will fall under, but that's great. And there are some really great granite posts. At least one or two are right outside the home and may actually fall within the landscaped area of the home. Those may have been, I know that some of them were originally fence posts. Some of them may have played other roles it's over the history of the house. So I think it would be really neat to keep those on site and have them used somehow. So I think that's the extent of my comments. Thank you very much.
Are there any questions? Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to offer their comments or concerns? Is there anyone else who would like to offer their comments or concerns? Is there anyone else who would like to offer their comments or concerns? Hearing none. Do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
I make a motion to close the public hearing.
All right. I'd like to. Yeah, yeah, well, it's what I'd want to do is, we have a motion, but we can. Yeah, all right. What I'd like to do is, perhaps I misspoke. Well, we have a motion, so let's, it can die for lack of a second, or it can be seconded, but there's a motion on the table. Have a second. Do I have a second? All right.
Hold on for a second.
Do I have a second? All right, so, all right, now it's open for discussion. Now, all right, now we have some changes that have been discussed. What is your timeframe, assuming we can get per the discussion, some of the changes to the planting plan?
Probably within a week, right, Al? If not sooner.
All right. There's been some good comments, I think constructive comments. I liked Ms. Calvin's idea of a crabapple. I have somewhat of a soft heart. You very rarely see them anymore for new plantings, but it would be very fitting. I grew up in an old home with several crabapples on the property that were in close conjunction with old stone walls and old granite markers, so,
That's not a problem.
yeah. And it's even when they're extremely mature, they're relatively small trees, so,
Right.
and provide adequate shade. I don't know what the planning board is going to do with respect to, any further plantings. Have they been discussing any of that?
We're meeting with Aaron Clausen Friday at 10 o'clock to go over the plan and landscape plan again, so I'm not sure exactly what they're going to be requiring.
All right. I mean, it's, how close is the property bound between that eastern end of the retaining wall and 1095 Middlesex? 1095 Westford. Do you know?
It's that little strip of land that borders those two pieces of property is probably about 6 feet.
Okay, so it's relatively narrow?
Correct.
Is that your property, or?
Well, that's the one we went to for the land swap with the council last night.
Okay. It's, because that's your southern end, that's your eastern end of the property. The southern end, I guess, is along Westford Street, correct? Yeah.
Correct.
And you won't get a lot of shade for instance, putting, tall sugar maples along the embankment, but it'll act as a, and the comments noted that they don't tolerate salt all that well. And shame on me, I didn't really look. I'm a little uncertain as to how well red maples will even survive on that property. The soils, as I recall, are very sandy and porous, and red maples generally like a lot of moisture in their soils. So I'm not an arborist, but I'd be a little concerned about their survivability too, given the nature of the soil out there. So,
Okay.
I would think that since there are several very mature sugar maples out there, that they'd probably tolerate that area fairly well.
We can incorporate the sugar maples.
Yeah,
That's not a problem.
given the fact that they're already out there. I like the idea of of trying to relocate. Now, relocating a rock wall can be difficult. It's.
We'll try our best. I
Yeah.
can't promise that we can do that, but we'll try our best then.
I've built several, and starting from scratch is a nightmare.
Right.
And taking one apart and putting it back together again it could be very difficult. But if whatever can be done, I mean, because those ancient rock walls are pretty cool. So,
Yes.
and I like the idea of relocating the posts too. That's. Are they already holed out, do we know, to receive like a split rail or anything like that, or? Okay, so, all right, they are fence posts, okay, so, all right, so that's, they weren't property markers or town line markers or anything, so, no, okay. All right, well, that's interesting, so that could be a cool thing. So you can have a plan back before us in a week?
Yes.
All right, when are you meeting with the planning board again?
23rd. We have the ZBA this Monday coming up.
Okay, and
planning board's the 23rd.
we're back here on the 22nd?
Yes.
Okay, all right,
Okay, that'll work, sure.
okay, all right, so, we have a motion, then I'll call it for a vote, but perhaps we want to leave the hearing open until we get a full plan, so, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Opposed? Okay, so opposed. All right, so then at the request of the proponent, waiting for new plans, we'll entertain a motion to continue for the January 22nd hearing date in anticipation of getting new plans.
That's great, thank you.
Okay,
Thank
thank
you
you.
for your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming in.
Did we take a motion to continue it?
Say that again?
Did we take a motion to continue it?
Yeah, do we have a motion? We did. Do I have a second?
Second.
By Commissioner Lynch. All in favor signify by saying aye to continue to the January 22nd. Opposed? The ayes have it. All right. And with nothing else on the agenda, is there any other pending business?
No, we don't have any other, we're planning to follow up on Shirley Ave, and also Stedman, more towards spring, just to, keep our, strings on the ongoing enforcement, properties that have enforcement orders open.
Okay.
And for the next meeting, we are looking at scheduling the annual election for the commission, and also, as discussed, that property with the conservation restriction for community garden purposes.
Yep.
So I'll include that under other
All right.
business.
Okay. Do I have a motion to adjourn? By Commissioner
Motion to adjourn.
Lynch, seconded by Commissioner Varnum. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Good night.